Where news comes first. This is ABC-7 Extra.
Welcome to ABC-7 Extra Sunday edition. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Ross. There are big changes coming to leadership in the El Paso County Attorney's Office. Joanne Bernal, who has served as county attorney since 2009 and chose not to run for re-election, will be retiring in just a matter of days. Taking over as county attorney will be Christina Sanchez, who has been in the office since 2007 when she was just an intern. Sanchez will be the third person to serve in the top job in 31 years, and Christina won handily in the March primary, defeating local attorney Sergio Saldivar. There was no Republican candidate in the race. And we welcome Christina Sanchez to ABC-7 Extra. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Now, we need to point out, of course, that you officially take office in January of next year. And Joanne retires on June 7th, but come June 10th, you get the official nod from county commissioners, correct?
That's correct. They make the final decision, but the plan is to have that on the agenda to make their final decision whether or not they will appoint me for the unexpired term through the end of the year.
Okay, very good. Now, Christina, you're a native El Pasoan, graduated from Burgess High School. You had graduated from George Washington University and Texas Tech Law School. You came back to El Paso and became an intern in the county attorney's office. And as I mentioned, you were about to become just the third person in the last 31 years to hold the office of county attorney. So, day one, what's your plan?
Day one, the plan is, of course, reaching out to our stakeholders, the folks that we work closely with. That's going to be members of our law enforcement community. That's going to be the individuals that work closely with our family violence units, which includes the Center for Sexual Assault and Family Violence, and as well as ensuring that we establish those relationships with the local school districts as well, who do sometimes refer those cases to our office for juvenile case referrals. So it's going to be very important to establish those relationships day one.
Now, your predecessor, Joanne Bernal, supported you in your bid for the top job. What do you think she saw in you and said, you need to run for this office?
Right. I mean, I think that has been a really just big component, of course, that relationship with Joanne, but what I see in a lot of leaders today, especially within the local community, we see it statewide, we see it nationally, where we're really trying to make an effort to bring up that next generation of leadership, if you will. I think for me, I knew this was always going to be home. I knew I wanted to build my career at the county attorney's office. We are very much involved in a lot of different facets of the office. For me, when I first became involved, it was working on legislative matters for the county. It was handling some high-profile cases and issues at the time. If you recall, back in 2007, there was a county-wide public corruption investigations that were going on. So it was
and
really.
We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up.
Yes, and so it was really much having that confidence in me to handle those issues. And you jump in and you get your hands dirty and you do the research and you work at it. And I think perhaps that's what she might have saw in me as well.
Now, you touched on this briefly. The county attorney's office handles a wide variety of cases, everything from juvenile crime to child and elder abuse to mental health cases, family violence. Can you expand on that and also mention, are there other cases that your office sees and handles?
Thank you. Thank you so much for raising that. That's been a challenge, if you will, trying to communicate with the rest of El Paso County in terms of what does the work of the county attorney's office does. A lot of folks know what the district attorney's office does. They handle criminal adult matters. Our office handles a wide range of matters. You touched a little bit on some of those other cases. You asked what other cases have we're handling. We are involved. We are the only county involved right now in SB4 litigation. El Paso County is the only county involved in that. So that's a big one that we're handling. We're still waiting a decision on that. We have also had a hand in representing our elections administrator on some of these election law cases that happened and came about after the, not this past legislative session, but the year before, where we saw a lot of rollback, if you will, on some efforts on how to make voting easier for our community members. And so we're handedly involved in that. You don't hear a lot about that, but we do represent our county elected officials. So we are going to be representing the new elected county sheriff. We will be representing a new elected district attorney. El Paso County has a huge hand, if not the only hand, in handling the criminal justice matters for this community. And so you talk about the county attorney's office that handles juvenile prosecutions. We handle criminal issues as well, including environmental cases, wage theft cases. And then you have the district attorney's office handling the criminal matters and their employment matters as well as the sheriff's office. So it really is a large component in ensuring that that function of criminal justice matters functions well. We know what happens when one of those wheels falls off, and so it really is going to be a team effort to make sure that it continues to run smoothly and that it runs fairly.
Does the office see more of one type of case than another?
We don't. We get a wide variety of cases. I mean, it's everything from a slip and fall, for example, in one of our facilities. It could be a claim, a simple claim. It could be a golf ball going to into a vehicle. Everything from that to handling a lot of the litigation, as I mentioned earlier, because of these statewide measures that have been passed in the last legislative session that really is rolling back local control and local ability to make their own decisions, our own decisions on certain matters. And so it really has a wide range and facet of issues that we touch upon.
Now, we've watched the district attorney's office struggle with personnel issues, which in turn has led to a backlog of cases. Does your office compare with the number of staff and cases in progress? How does that work?
So we have almost about 100 staff lawyers in our office. We have a budget about $11 million right now. The district attorney's office, as I mentioned earlier, handles all of the adult criminal matters, and they also represent 2 other jurisdictions. So we're talking Culberson and Hudspeth County. So it's really comparing, I think, apples to oranges here. Where our office, what I really see as our office doing is being the community's office out there providing services. We represent victims of family violence. That is a service that we provide. We handle the emergency detention orders for our mental health unit, as well as handling those cases that come through for our adult protective services as well as our child protective services cases. So it's different in the sense that I would say we do have some slice of handling some criminal matters. I mentioned those earlier, but a large part of our role is, as I said, ensuring that taxpayer dollars are protected, that the county's interests and values are protected via the work that we do with our civil litigation unit and providing that general counsel legal advice to our county officials.
And my conversation with incoming El Paso County Attorney Christina Sanchez continues after the break. You're watching ABC-7 Extra Sunday.
It's the Ford SUV season sales event. Time for great offers across the entire lineup, including Ford Escape, Mustang Mach-E, Expedition, and Explorer, America's all-time best-selling SUV. Experience Ford Blue Cruise hands-free highway driving available on select vehicles. Amazing offers, huge selection. This is Ford SUV season. Get 0% financing for 60 months, plus $1,750 bonus cash, plus no payments for 90 days on Ford Explorer. Ford, official vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys.
Watch Smart Money Thursday on ABC-7 at 4 with Myro Capital Management. You'll learn how to save money the right way and make better decisions to set you and your family up for financial success. Smart Money Thursday on ABC-7 at 4, sponsored by Myro Capital Management.
For complete coverage of UTEP sports, there's only one choice.
Tune in to ABC-7, the exclusive home of the UTEP Miners.
From football to golf and everything in between.
We've got you covered.
I'm Adrian Ochoa.
And I'm B. Martinez.
Go Miners!
There's DNA. Then there's heavy-duty DNA. HDNA. It's engineered into every aspect of the GMC Sierra HD. With the pulling power to prove it. Tow hitches of the world, prepare for glory.
New 2024 Sierra heavy-duty models arriving weekly. Stop by your GMC dealer to make your selection. See your El Paso Las Cruces GMC dealers.
What if one day you went to your secret hiding place and instead of what you came for, you found this? What would you do? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before drugs take their toll on you and your family, know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/knowtherisks.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Sunday Extra, ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. I should be able to say that by now. I'm Mark Ross. My guest this week, incoming county attorney Christina Sanchez. Christina, I'd like to get your perspective, and you touched on this briefly in the last segment, on that large-scale corruption case, public corruption case that started in 2004 and it continued through 2013. There were 32 people who were indicted, among them a former county judge, a county judge's chief of staff, a county commissioner, trustees in the El Paso School District. Now, you were brand new to the office in 2007, so how were you involved?
Doing a lot of research in terms of county issues, how this affected counties, what we were looking at in terms of any issues that we could recover in terms of any damages that were there because of the county's involvement. Bigger picture, though, was what we were going to do moving forward to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Did we need more training? Did we need more teeth in the current ethics laws that were in the books or that were not in the books at that time? So we moved along and moving forward with creating an ethics commission that allowed penalties for any violations. That ethics code, that ethics commission, only applies to county officials and county employees, but it was something, and it was looking at what are we doing in terms of ensuring that our procurement process is solid, that our procurement process will not be questioned. What are we looking at in terms of any coercion, right? Anybody trying to force somebody to participate in any type of political activities. It wasn't meant because we did not trust anybody, but it was meant to kind of review back in terms of what did we see, what did we learn, and how could we strengthen that to ensure that individuals were held accountable and that there were some parameters in place so people understood what they needed to do moving forward and to follow along those ethics provisions.
Was this an eye-opening experience for someone who had just joined the office?
Absolutely. I think at that time you can see it was like it was a little bit of a turning point in terms of what we saw in leadership and what we saw in politics and what we saw perhaps that was happening behind the scenes. And I think not only for individuals that were in the office at the time, again, I was an intern, but also I think for the community at large, right? We need to have faith in our government system. We need to have faith in our elected officials that are there. And so it definitely was an eye-opening experience. In fact, when I went back to law school, I would watch Commissioners Court meetings, tune it in. It was online on Mondays. I would keep up with the local news because it mattered to me in terms of what was the rest of the state thinking about our leadership and our community. We know that El Paso has sometimes been an outlier on some of these other issues with the state, and it mattered to me that we continue to have faith in the representation that was being provided to us by the elected officials. So I did keep up with it. It was a surreal experience, but to be able to draw lessons learned and have a hand in drafting legislation that would put a little bit more checks and balances in place really shaped my perspective, and I think was really a reflection for myself of the pride that I have in this community and the understanding that our community, our El Paso community, deserved a lot better than individuals that may not have the community's interest in mind.
And you mentioned that this particular case in turn led to strengthening the ethics commission that the county created. Was there anything else that came about as a result of that public corruption case?
I think, again, big picture, as we moved forward in several years, as we went along, I think what had changed or what we had done differently was our approach in terms of ensuring that there was a strong and streamlined system in place to orient, right, to provide a good orientation for our incoming elected officials and their staff. We wanted them to understand these were the processes in place. I think what also came out of that as a result was, okay, what was not working, what was going directly to elected officials, but where could staff play a big role in this, in providing good research and good perspective on issues so that the policymakers can make good decisions. And so with that came the county creating the county chief administrator position. And so that helped streamline the process as well. And you see these efficiencies built into place that really mean that government can run smoothly, and we have had a part in that. When I say we, I'm talking about the county attorney's office, because we were advising individuals along the way on how can you do this? What are we looking at? We moved, for example, our budget officer from the county auditor's office into their own budget office. So there was a lot of streamlining going into place, which also led to, I think, big picture improvements in our criminal justice system. We created a pretrial review process with our criminal justice system, and so it was really giving us an opportunity to figure out how we can build those efficiencies in county government.
And another major case that your office was involved in was the case to remove Ivan Rosales as district attorney. Talk about your role in that particular case.
I did not have a huge hand in that role at all. Of course, being a part of the office, I was aware of what was going on. We understood in terms of how items were going to get posted and discussed and facilitated with our commissioners court, but I was not directly involved in that particular matter, in that removal matter. Our civil litigation attorneys handle that. Our current county attorney, Joanne Bernal, was looking at that as well, and so that was something I was a little bit more removed from, but I definitely understood what the issues were and looked at some issues as we moved along on that process.
My conversation with incoming county attorney Christina Sanchez when we continue here on ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition.
Of course, the GMC Terrain offers different drive modes. What about Weekend Warrior mode? Or you don't see that everyday mode? How about out of the office mode? Or even,
are you out of your mind?
Mode. Want a mode for everything? Sign and Drive is here. Get this ultra-low mileage lease on this 2024 Terrain SLE for around $379 per month with zero due at signing.
See your El Paso Las Cruces GMC dealers.
Any other questions about your loan with Navy Federal Credit Union?
All good. Thanks again for answering my call. I know it's late back home. I can't imagine where I'd be without you guys.
Are you still there?
Thanks so much.
Have a good one. Thanks for calling.
Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Summer's here, and with a new Toyota, you can capture all the moments that make summer, summer. Like driving a RAV4 to wade in a waterfall.
Nice.
Cruising to play mini golf in a Camry. Or taking a Tundra to the beach.
You're not gonna leave me here, are you?
Right now, qualified buyers get 0% APR financing for 36 months on a rugged new 2024 Tundra. Offer ends June 3rd.
Your summer starts here.
Toyota, let's go places.
The crowd is absolutely deafening.
Off we go. Absolutely incredible.
And welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. I'm Mark Ross. Incoming County Attorney Christina Sanchez is my guest this Sunday night. Christina, your entire public service career has been with the County Attorney's Office. Talk about the various units that you've been involved in over the course of your time in the office.
Yes, I'll start off. I started off working in the general counsel unit, so providing legal advice to our human resources department, constables' offices whenever there were some questions that were going on, reviewing and handling contracts. I then moved on to handle, and I was the only legal advisor to our juvenile probation department, so same function, providing them general counsel advice, any day-to-day employment matters, day-to-day legal questions as it pertained to any juvenile matters, and so handled that. Then moved into doing some trial work, so I did juvenile prosecution for several years, handled a handful of jury trials in that capacity, moved over to our civil litigation unit representing county officials, and so it was civil litigation defense, and also handling a big project. We received a grant from the state to ensure that a section of the community in far east El Paso received water and wastewater services. So I was part of the effort in ensuring that we had the proper property rights, real estate rights, in order to ensure that those lines could go in to bring in that water and wastewater to that community. Thereafter, I ended up serving as the main legal advisor to the Commissioner's Court in 2017. From that time, I've been in that role since that time. We handled and we were the main legal advisors consulting the court and our other clients in the county on COVID matters. So we were right in the middle of that, drafting orders, looking at the issues, responding to those emergency matters, responding to and trying to figure out what was our role and what could we do to move forward with the migrant situation. We saw a couple of waves of those situations throughout several years and handling that. And so those were the major ones. Of course, when August 3rd came, there was a lot of questions in terms of what can local governments do? How can we respond? How can we initiate emergency funding, emergency initiatives in that in our governmental capacity? So responding to those major issues.
Let me go back to what you mentioned about the fact the county attorney's office is involved in the cases concerning SB 4, Senate Bill 4. Expand on what your role is. Was your office involved at all with those two large groups of migrants who rioted and tried to breach the border?
So a lot of questions, of course, arose in terms of like, what does that mean? What does that happen? Of course, the state, which would be the district attorney's office, handles any of those criminal issues because those are state charges, right? We have a public defender's office that would be responsible for handling the legal defense of those individuals. What we were looking at was in terms of the capacity, the operational capacity, the operational issues in terms of what that meant for the county. And I'll just back up a little bit to say those always had been the considerations if this type of law or other types of laws were going to be implemented. So during the last legislative session, I myself went down to the state capitol to testify against various versions of this bill, really with the message being to the officials of the potential financial issues that were going to be inflicted upon county government if we started going down this route. We're talking about jail capacity. We're talking about our creating a secondary criminal justice system to handle these types of issues. What other resources were going to be involved in terms of enlisting members of the judiciary, in terms of our own county staff that does those pretrial assessments for these individuals. So that was really the eye to that, which ends up lending itself to the litigation that we are currently in, and those are our claims. Those are the damages. What is this going to cost the county? We know at this time we don't have money being funded down from the state to address these issues. We know that from an operational perspective, if there was a large amount of individuals that had to be detained, we just simply do not have the capacity to do that. But that still isn't taking into account, for example, the staffing hours, lawyer hours, other hours that individuals are putting in to assess what does this mean operationally for the county. So figuring out how do we deal with that, figuring out where is the state and what is their role in this, what does it mean in terms of our own county commissioners and their policy perspectives, and then of course we come in to offer any of the legal perspective. How do you get to where you want to get to, Commissioner's Court, in terms of addressing these issues as we move forward?
And you talked about some of the streamlining in various county offices that resulted from the public corruption case. Do you foresee any more streamlining of county offices, additions, subtractions?
Not at this time. It depends, right? What the sheriff wants to do with their own offices, with the county attorney's office. Right now we handle certain criminal matters, and that has been because we do have the cooperation and the acquiescence by the district attorney's office that we can handle those cases because we have the capacity to do so, and we could also give it that due consideration. So for example, we have jurisdiction at this time over felony environmental cases. We know that there have been a handful of fires that are happening outside of the county, and so it's really another tool in the toolbox, if you will, to figuring out how do we address these? What does this mean on a bigger picture so that we can ensure that those instances where this happens out in the county, where we're seeing individuals having to evacuate from their homes, evacuate from schools, causing a disruption to the community, to figure out how are we going to move forward and how are we going to be addressing these issues in the future.
Final question for you. What do you think Joanne Bernal's legacy will be, and how do you plan to build on that?
You know, I very much admire County Attorney Joanne Bernal. You know, when you talk about an individual, an elected official who is a leader, you think about all the things that they've done, everything that they've been able to accomplish. She was the first female county attorney. She was board certified in civil law, and so she's just brought a lot to the table. But I think for me, what was most impactful and will stay with me is her focus, and I think her very much interest in ensuring that others such as myself, other leaders in that office had that opportunity to step up to the plate, right? We had been through a lot in terms of a lot of the issues that we saw and had to handle, and it was, well, what are you going to do about it? Are we going to sit on the sidelines and complain and think of like what other people are going to do to step up? Or are you going to step up to do this? And I really do think her greatest legacy, and something that I'm going to hopefully do and really be mindful of, is ensuring that there will always be the next generation of good leaders, and identifying those next generation of good leaders to lead this community going forward. I think our community deserves that. I think there's amazing talent here. There's so many amazing, talented individuals that I'm so fortunate to call my colleagues in the county attorney's office. And so that will be her greatest legacy. And I know I have big shoes to fill. I know that she has really set the standard of excellence in terms of public service with legal services that tack on to that. And so I hope I can continue that. But her legacy will be there for a long time, and it'll be up to me to ensure that it continues and to not mess that up. So that's going to be my goal.
Christina Sanchez, incoming county attorney. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And best of luck as you start in the top role in the office. And thank you again for coming on ABC-7 Extra.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching ABC-7 Extra Sunday edition. Next Sunday night, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the El Paso Diablos baseball team with former general manager Jim Paul. And we want you to share your memories of the Diablos, whether it was at the old Dudley Dome or at Cohen Stadium. So look for the story on KVIA ABC-7 Facebook page and leave your comments, and hopefully we'll share those with all of you next Sunday night. I'm Mark Ross. Stay safe, stay strong. I'll see you next Sunday.
Thank you for watching. ABC-7 News is now available on any of these streaming services, as well as the KVIA News and KVIA Weather and Traffic apps.